If you think your thoughts and opinions do not matter, or if you fear taking the next steps towards a better you, or if you allow other people to take free reign of your life, now is the time to put an end to these limiting beliefs. Welcome to Change Your View, a podcast that will help you take back control to have a well-lived life and the conviction that your life is to have meaning. Join Haseena Shaheed-Jackson in discussions aimed at overcoming the limitations of physical sight to see with spirit, hope, and faith. Each episode will empower you to develop the courage and self-assurance to go after the life you want. Here is your host, Haseena.
Well, hello, DonTasia. I thank you so much for being on another episode of Change Your View. I'm excited to have my cousin, and we tease. We're not really related, but we are related because we always will be sisters no matter what. So thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
And we are going to dive right on in because you have a story to tell, and I want you to share your story.
Okay.
So we met about maybe how long has it been now? Maybe about a year? 2 years?
Maybe 2 years.
Okay.
And I don't really remember how we met. Do you remember?
It was at a church function, I know. And we just immediately connected though. We immediately made a connection. Was it at the GLS summit? No?
No, because I knew you before that.
Right. It was some event and we just immediately clicked. And we've just been talking ever since. And I thank you for
that. Yeah, thank you. That must mean a good thing because when you can't remember how you met someone, it must be, a great meeting, because I don't remember. Now I'm going to have to really think about that.
No, we are. I know. I'm going to have to pick my brain too. So I asked you to give me 3 adjectives. If someone said 3 adjectives that describes who DonTasia is, what would those 3 adjectives be?
One would be loyal, dedicated, and industrious.
I like that. Industrious. Now what does industrious mean? Please add on to that one because that is something new.
Industrious is very hardworking. It just means that I'm going to roll up my sleeves and I'm going to, no job is above my pay grade, if you will. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I try to find solutions. Don't try to harper over who went wrong, what went wrong. Sometimes I want to know the why so then I can understand how to get to the end result, but it's not really that important to me. So that's how I became industrious because I'm very, very hardworking in all that I do.
We need this out here. And you are a mother of 2, correct?
I am a mother of 3 and then I have a bonus child.
Okay. All right.
I have a 22-year-old, a 17-year-old, and a 9-year-old. And my bonus child, she's 21.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So how do you see yourself? Tell me, how do you see yourself? When you look in the mirror, what do you see when you look in the mirror?
I see myself as someone who is funny, who likes to make people laugh, because at the end of the day, life is too short to be harping over, or complaining a lot, or just dealing with your everyday situations. And when I come in contact with people, I want to see them smile. And that's who I am. After my mom passed, I think I got a sense of, I call myself a wannabe comedian. So I try to crack jokes a lot and, just make people laugh. And so when they come around me, they are going to have a good time. We're going to laugh. We're going to have fun. And that's who I see myself as when I look in the mirror. I look in the mirror and I see someone that's going to get the job done. You can rely on me. If something happened and I'm not there for whatever reason, without a shadow of a doubt, something happened because I don't, things happen. So I'm not going to say I don't drop the ball, but that's very, very seldom. And something has happened, it had to have happened for me to just drop the ball like that. So I'm like I said, with the three adjectives, I'm very, very loyal. I'm very, very dedicated. And I just take my relationships very, very seriously. And I like to communicate. So I like to communicate.
And the reason why I ask you about identity, because I know that a lot of times we put on masks and we cocoon ourselves, or we do things that really hide the true person that we are. And that's difficult because we don't want to appear to be vulnerable. We don't want to be judged, and we really need to be affirmed. And so when
I could speak on that because I'm very, very transparent, and I struggle with that a lot because a lot of people don't like that. They don't like the transparency because I like to be upfront with people. Let's just say, and I hope we never get to a point in our life that we have a disagreement. I'm not going to let that disagreement fester. I'm going to come to you and say, hey, can we talk? A lot of people feel like that's up in your face and confrontational. And I don't like those words being used when you're talking about me, because that's not my goal when I approach people. I'm not approaching you to be confrontational. I'm not approaching you to want to fight you. I'm approaching you because there may be a misunderstanding that we need to clear up. And I want to make sure that we can be in each other's space in order to do that. And so I would like to add too that I am very, very transparent. I don't put on a mask. What you see is what you get. And, a lot of people don't like that. And I don't know why. So that's a part of me that sometimes I wish I can change, because I have a lot of friends who are not as transparent as I am, and they're fine, and they don't talk about what's going on in their life a lot. They're just not as transparent. But if you sit me down long enough, I tell you my whole life story. Because I want you to know who you're dealing with. And if you want to be in my space, you're going to be my friend, and you know what you're going to get. You know who I am, and you know what I'm expecting with a friendship. A lot of people don't do that, and that's their prerogative. But I just don't like when I'm transparent how that comes off to be confrontational in some aspects. So
now, and I ask you this because I know you have been married how many years now?
15.
15 years. And so I know that we have spoke a little bit about this prior to, but you're about to make a change in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
A change that in 15 years is a long time to be in a relationship and then find out that you need to go in another direction. So would you elaborate on that? How did you come about making that decision? Did God, because you're a woman of faith, which because you have been in the church now at Victory since 2010, and you are now even teaching a woman's Bible study class. How did you come about making that decision that it was time to move on from a marriage after 15 years?
Listening to the voice of God, which is challenging for us all. And I had to really, really listen to him. And there's been a lot of times throughout those 15 years that I don't think I was listening. But I came to a point where, with prayer, with fasting, that I just submitted to his will. And it's challenging. And that looks, listening to the voice of God and being under his will and his lordship and being obedient to him is different for everyone. But for me, it took a long time. It took a very, very long time. And I just got to a point that God told me it was time. And if nobody knows anything about me, they know, or I hope they will know, that I'm obedient to God. It may not look like, something that I should be doing, or something that God, to the natural eye and to the flesh, that God wants me to do. But I know deep down in my heart that I heard from God, and God told me to move in this direction. But it's challenging, it's scary, it's hard, but God didn't say it was going to be easy. And I keep telling myself that, God is with you. God is with you. And even every step of the way, I have to keep telling myself, God is with me. So don't be afraid. Is in the Bible is fear not, or don't be afraid, is in the Bible for 365 times. And I believe that it's in there because it's 365 days in a year. So every day he is telling us and reminding us to not be afraid. But I, you know, you go through stages, and I went through a final stage where I felt like God was telling me, put your big girl panties on, and it's time. It's time for you to start choosing you and not putting everybody else first. It's time for you to make a choice to choose you. And I wasn't doing that. I was doing what I thought everybody wanted me to do. I was doing what I thought marriage looked like. Um, I was doing what, people was telling me to do, because I would talk to people and they would say, oh no, you shouldn't do X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z. And I was like, yeah, you right. Because to some degree, I'm a people pleaser, and I want everyone to be happy with me. I don't want anybody upset with me. If someone is upset with me, it really hurts my heart. And I think that that's a weakness of mine. And people take that kindness that I have for my weakness, and they take it for granted. They, walk over me. Become a doormat until I get tired. And it takes a long time for me to get tired. But when I get tired, God hardens my heart. I can get very, very stubborn. And when it's over, it's over. And I don't really recover well from that. And this journey it has been challenging for me. But on the upside of it, I'm making a choice. And it's everyone's choice to be where they are. And God is going to guide you and protect you. He's going to lead the way. But you got to be in tune with him. Your mind, your body, and your soul has to be in tune with him. And if it's out of whack, things are going to go in a different direction. But when you line your will up with God, he will direct you. And what he told me when I was praying, and when it came to it's time, he told me to file for a divorce. Now, I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what the end result is going to be, but that's what he told me to do. And that's what I did. And I even had somebody to tell me, God didn't tell you to do that, but he did. And I told that person, I can't help you to understand that. It's not my responsibility to get you to understand what God told me, because that's my relationship with God. You have your own relationship with God. And it may not look like that. And I hope you don't get a whole lot of letters from this podcast. People writing in telling you that she don't know what she talking about. But I have that relationship with God, and it's my journey. And that's exactly what he told me. Now, I don't know what it looks like. I have played, because I always come up with a lifetime story. And I have several different lifetime stories going on in my head of how this can work out. He told me to file for a divorce. My husband did tell me that when I did that and he actually got served, it was a wake-up call
Oh, you have said so much. So before we go down that road, wait a minute,
Okay.
because that is
Okay.
interesting. I like that spin because it seems to me sometimes God makes you go down in order for you to go up. And it sounds like
Yep.
that might be where we're going. But let's go back
Mhm.
to something. You said two things and then we'll go
Okay.
back. So listeners
Okay.
gonna have to be on the edge for that part right there. You use the term, and I call it me-centric, because when we start thinking about ourselves, a lot of times when we are a wife and a mother and working, we lose sight of our own self and taking care of self. And so once we start, and then when it comes around and it's time for you, let's say you become an empty nester, you look at yourself and you're thinking, I've neglected myself for 30, 40 years, but you have woken up earlier than that. And you're saying, I need to really take care of myself. This is about me. And people feel ashamed and guilty for doing that. Did you have that concern? I mean, what made you finally take that turn to say, no, I do need to focus on myself?
My brokenness made me decide to, to get more in tune with God. And it shifted me to start focusing in on myself. Again, it wasn't easy. I went through the mommy guilt. I went through the wife guilt. Am I doing the right thing? And I just had to. It's a constant battle in my head, and I have to talk to myself. I have to talk to myself constantly. I pray and pray, and I ask God, why am I feeling this way? This is what you told me to do. Why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling guilty about just going to take some time to go on a trip? I have not been on a trip by myself. And I told a couple of my friends, which, okay, here it is again, where I try to be a comedian. My girlfriend said, hey, are you still going on a trip? I said, I am thirsty for a trip. I don't care who go. I don't care who drop out. If I have to go and it's just you and we going on this trip. And so she started laughing. I said, because I am just that thirsty for a trip that I do not care where we go or who we go with. And that was the shift or the spin for me to start just thinking about myself. And I start doing the things that I like to do. Start doing things that I've never done before. So I'm on this journey of one hit wonder type thing. So I'll do it one time. If I don't like it, then that's it. If I like it, then hey, maybe I'll do it again. But I'm going to try something at least once so that I can at least say that I tried. And that's the journey that I'm on. And it's all about joy. It's all about joy. I'm not trying to do anything that's going to bring me hardship or malice or be upset. It's all about joy. I heard a TikTok one time say, if we're not talking about going on a trip, going out to eat, or going to a mall, then we shouldn't be talking. And I'm basically on that page as far as my journey is concerned. And I love, love, love being in seminary school because I love just reading about God, reading about his word and his gospel, and just how to share it with others. And I feel through my life, my journey, that's what I'm focusing in on now.
Because and that's what's powerful, and that's what we need to understand, that if you are healthy inside, then you can be healthy in around you, so others
Yeah.
will reap the benefits, because that's all what it's about. You have to be filled with that inner peace and
Hmm.
joy in
Hmm.
order to in turn spread joy and peace to others. The
Hmm.
other thing is that you said you're being true to self.
Hmm.
And I love that,
Hmm.
because again, it's hard to be true to self because we don't even want to face our own imperfections. And you used the word
Hmm.
earlier about I had to face my brokenness,
Hmm.
because we're all broken.
Hmm. Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
all broken.
Hmm.
Every individual is broken. And brokenness only means that once you can face who you are, then you can go before the Lord
Hmm.
and see that you
Hmm.
are unconditionally loved, and you can
Hmm.
unconditionally love yourself.
Yeah.
And then you can listen and be obedient to him and do the things that you're supposed to do around you. I mean, that's the way I take it.
Yeah, but you have to admit your brokenness first. And you have to admit those things that are breaking you. And it's hard sometimes to admit it. You know, it's hard to say, I sat back and I watched all of this happen. How and why did you do that? And it's hurtful because where you sit today is different from where you sat 20 years ago or 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. It's different. And now your eyes is open and it just causes you to think like, why did I do that? I know some people may, even say when they've been in a relationship with someone and they may look back and be like, oh my God, what did I see in that person? And how did we get matched up? That's because your eyes have opened over here. And once you do that, you have to admit to yourself that, hey, yeah, I made a mistake. I was wrong. Or what made you stop and allow this to happen to you? You just have to let it out. You have to surrender yourself to God. This is not surrendering yourself to man. It's not about being on this podcast, surrendering to you and how things made me feel. It's about surrendering to God because he wants your heart. And if you keeping that protected, he can't get in and work on you. So I had to first admit that I was broken. And I had to face those things that was breaking me. And that was hard. Oh, it was hard. It was hard. It was hard. It was hard. But when I finally let it out.
What was a few of the things that were breaking you? Please share that because, sometimes people don't know what's breaking them. What was it that you discovered?
I discovered like the piece that I was telling you that, I share a lot of grace and mercy for people. And if you come to me and say, hey, I want a second chance, I'm sorry, I take you for your word. And I don't, and I don't look at you as if you're lying to me. But in all retrospect, that's what some people do. They lie, they don't tell the truth, they don't look you in your face, they not being transparent. And it was hard for me to sit and watch this happen. When I look back at it, I'm like, you knew that this person was not being truthful to you. You knew this. You had even talk to God about this. And he had already told you what to do. And you went back to that anyway. That was all me. That was all me. And I had to fess up to that. That was all me. Because God has been walking on this journey with me all along. And he's been showing me things and he's been telling me things. But I'm like, I don't know if that was God. I don't know if that was listening to people, talking to people. And they say, oh, I don't know if God is telling you that you right, But God has been walking with me all along. And why can't I listen to him? Why wasn't I listening to him? And I just had to admit it because I wanted what I wanted. And that was, just to make a prime example, I wanted to be married above everything. I wanted a family. I wanted to be married, and that's it. And that was my goal. So nothing that God was telling me to do or whatever, I wasn't listening. I wasn't listening because my goal, my dream was to be married, period. And that overshadowed everything that was going on, everything.
So some of the things that was going on in the marriage was really not beneficial to you and to
Correct.
him. But instead of addressing those things, you just allow them to keep layering themselves on for the last 15 years to
keep sweeping it up under the rug. Yeah.
But and this is and I really want to let listeners know we're not in any way being negative towards her spouse.
No.
This whole thing is really talking about how she aligned herself with God, asking him for direction. But then we're going to move to that right now. You said, well, you served him with the divorce papers, but that might not be the end because it's like the law of elevation. Sometimes you have to give up something in order to go higher. And it sounds like to me is that he has to give up a few things and you have to give up a few things in order for
Mm-hmm.
you guys to come back together to go higher.
Right.
Probably. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
see that this
And
could be
sometimes I like to, speak on that. Sometimes you have to fail in order to win.
Mhm.
Sometimes you have to fall in order to get up and do it right again. And I think that's where we are. We're still in that journey. I'm still hearing the voice of God. I'm still being obedient to him. But all I heard God say is file for a divorce. I don't know what that's going to look like at the end of this spectrum. I don't know if it's going to look like, again, how I tell lifetime stories to myself, if that's going to be his wake up call. And that's going to mean that he's going to do everything that he is supposed to do, that God is telling him to do, so that he can align up with God the way he's supposed to. And so that we can be a family that is under God's lordship, period. I remember when we were, building our home and I came over here to pray. I asked God to make this home a home that he is proud of.
Mhm.
So sometimes to get us to that point, we got to fail in order to win. So I don't know what this is going to look like, but I'm going to be obedient to God.
But you know what comes to mind with me is the story of Isaac and Abram.
Mm-hmm.
Because God said, take your son
Mm-hmm.
and you are going to, it's going to be a sacrifice.
Yeah.
And Abram took his son on up the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And the son said, but Dad,
Yeah, right.
what's the sacrifice? And his father
Right.
said, God will provide.
You. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All he said was God will provide. So I think about it in your situation here. God said, yes, file for the divorce.
Mm-hmm.
But I see that it's a sacrifice in order for you for him to provide. He's saying he had you do this so that both of you guys could admit to your brokenness so that you can come back together to be better together.
And that's a good Bible story, because I could just only imagine Abram walking with his son, knowing what he was supposed to do, that God had told him to do. That's hard, that you were supposed to sacrifice your son. That's hard. This is my son, my only son. What am I supposed to do? And I could just imagine what he was going through, the agony of getting on top of that mountain, what he was going through. Is similar to what I feel and I'm going through now. It's hard for me to do that. I didn't just do it when God said, file for divorce. It took me 30 days because I fasted, I prayed. I'm like, Lord, you're going to have to send me some confirmation, because I know you didn't tell me to just do that. And I'm pretty sure Abram was going through the same thing. Are you serious? And I'm pretty sure he stopped along the way like I do and say, really, Lord, is that what we're doing? So that's a great story. And look at what God did in the end. He provided.
Yes.
So I don't know. We still in the trench of the thing. I don't know what it's gonna look like.
And that's what I'm saying is that, so it's not over till God says it's over. He only told you to do one step. So now you have to continue to be obedient and listen to him. And then you will really, truly, you and him, your husband coming together, will find out his true will. So I thank you for sharing that. So let's move on. And I want to move on to where you said you have a calling because you have that connection to God now. And you are pursuing a doctorate in divinity at some point. Right now you're getting your master's, but I'm putting it out there because the doctorate is coming too. What caused you to go in this direction? How did you know? I mean, so you've been listening to God for long. How do you know it's him talking? Like, like somebody said to you before, they accused you, say, how you know that's God talking to you? You know, God didn't tell you, he didn't tell you to file for that divorce. So how do you know that that's when he's talking to you?
Because he gives me joy. He gives me peace. And it's in my heart where I feel his presence. When you said, like, God will provide, I can feel that. And I know that without a doubt. In the middle, because he don't give us a plan. He doesn't tell us how it's going to be laid out. But I know without a doubt, this is going to be the end result. He's going to provide. And what that looks like in the middle, I don't know. But you have to, every step of the way, walk with him, pray with him, talk to him, fast with him, and do everything. And he's going to line it up with you. But it's the peace, it's the joy that he gives me. Even within my calling, I accepted my calling. And I'm going to be honest, again, I'm very transparent. When he be speaking to me sometimes, I be like, no, you ain't say that. I ain't accepting that. You ain't tell me to do that. And I remember when I was when God told me to start the wives group. I was like, who? Because I even knew then. I'm like, I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna get out of this marriage. And you want me to start a wives group? I can't teach these women anything. And it was like we were having a conversation. It was like, I didn't tell you to teach them anything. I'm not asking you to teach them anything. I'm asking you to start this group. It was a year later. Trust me, I fought him on it because I'm like, no, because I got to go in here and I got to, act like my marriage is, perfect and I'm doing things all right. And no, you ain't called me to do this. But he kept egging at me, kept egging at me. He gave me the title of this group is Wives, Women Interested in Valuing and Encouraging Our Spouses.
Mm-hmm.
And when he gave me the name, that's when him and I begin on this journey of titles, to the point that I love titles. I love to give a good story, a good sermon or something, a good title, because I feel like the title is the hook. And that's how he hooked me into starting this wives group. But I fought him on it because I'm like, not me. I can't teach these ladies anything. He's like, I'm not asking you to. We've been going on for 10 years now, this wives group. We have not had any issues. We love one another. We're protective of one another. And we talk about some serious issues in our group. And we help one another. And I tell them all the time, if it wasn't for them, I don't know where I would be right now. But they helped increase my faith in God. And we just talk and we just share a lot. Is no judgment in this group. That's where we were, where we are. And that's how he hooked me. And that's how, shortly, I'm trying to think, when did we started? But like shortly after that, I started accepting my calling. But I knew all along, because I've been fighting God all along. Like, no, you ain't called me to do this. I can't get in front of people and talk.
The one thing you said, DonTasia, that I really want you to expand upon is that when he called you to go into this ministry and to form this women's group for wives, you said, but God, my marriage is not right. My marriage is not perfect. I mean, nobody's marriage is perfect either. So let me just put that out there. But you were having.
But see, I didn't know that. I didn't know that because I'm not surrounded by women who are married. I didn't know that. And I thought my marriage had to be perfect in order for me to say I'm a part or even a head or the lead of this group. I thought it had to be all perfect. And he told me to be obedient to him because I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm not asking you to teach these ladies anything. We teach each other. Trust me.
So the thing is that you came in there being transparent about the issues so women come together to discuss the issues that are going on in their marriage or what's going on with them.
Not really
so how does it work?
Issues. We just talk about everyday situations, because I don't want to make it seem like, again, like you say on this podcast, we're not bashing our husbands. We're not bashing men. We don't do that. We just come and talk about what's going on in us and internalizing what's going on in and how we feel. We had someone who she was upset because her husband was watering the grass all the time. She said, like, every time I come home, he's watering the grass. To her, he's watering the grass, and all she see is money coming out that water hose. That's all she saw. And I was sitting over there quiet and looking around like, And then I gave my story as far as I was the one always out there watering the grass. And we got a very, very high, expensive water bill. Now she was like, I bet you it wasn't as high as ours was. And I said, sure, how expensive was your water bill? And she was like, it was $398. And I don't know the exact, but it was $398.75. And I said, try having a water bill of $848 and some cents. Try that. He was like, oh. So when we both shared our similar situation, it made her see things from a different perspective. And it made her look at things like it ain't all so bad on my side of the grass. Because look, DonTasia is dealing with this. And that's how we share. Somebody, I may come up with something to say, oh yeah, I didn't know how we was gonna pay this $848, water bill. I didn't know how we was gonna pay it. Or somebody was gonna say, well, all you have to do is just call the water department, set up a payment plan. So we help each other. And it relieves each other. When you know that you ain't the only one in the room that has gone through a high, expensive water bill, it kind of makes you feel a little bit better. And that's what we do. So it's no bashing, it's no, oh, I don't want to, do this, or my husband this. And we don't do that. We talk about our internal issues and what we're dealing with and seeking help. We're not counselors. Nobody in our group is a counselor, but we just try to help each other with tools that we have used.
So it's like, so to me, it sounds like it's wives helping wives.
Yep.
And helping us to see from a different perspective, because a lot of times we get stuck in tunnel vision, seeing things one way when there is another way to look at the issue. So
or it's just like we feel like we just going through it. We the only ones that's going through it. We the only ones that had a high, expensive water bill. And she just thought that she was the only one.
Right.
And I'm looking at it. I wish I did have your $300 water bill.
Right. But that's what it's all about. And that's what I would like to see more of us do, is build these communities where we can come together, share, be transparent, be vulnerable, be open, so that we can glean from each other. Because
as women, we don't have that space. Where's our space to do that? We don't have a space because we got to constantly move and keep things going and in order and be, organized. And we don't have. So where is our space where we can talk about these things and we can not be judged? Because that's the key. We have the platform to do this, but where can we do it and not be judged? Because every time you open your mouth and you say, oh, I'm having a challenge with this, here's somebody saying, oh, well, you should be doing this. And why didn't you try to do this? That's judgment. We do no judgment. And that's our platform. I did, very quickly an assignment for school. And my teacher, and it was about, starting my wives group. And he said, you should take this a little further because there's a lot of women out here that need that. We don't have that platform where we cannot be judged. And I don't know why. Either we're judging ourselves or there's other women that's judging us. And so we clam up and don't want to talk and be transparent because we don't want to be judged by our fellow sister.
Now, I got a question for you. So can anybody join your group?
If you're a wife, yes.
So how can they contact you, DonTasia, to get involved in your group?
They can call me. My number is 708-979-0831.
Say it one more time.
708-979-0831.
Thank you so much for that. And I think that is so powerful that you have created this environment where women can come together and collaborate. And just so, and I will put a plug in because I'm actually starting a women's group too. It's called Women's Networking Group, and it's for women to come together. We'll watch a video for 30 minutes. We'll have some conversation, and then we will have takeaways that we want to do afterwards that we're going to do with the information that we learn from each other. And it will be 1 hour. So if you're interested in being part of my group, you can always email me at hsjacksonbook@gmail.com, Again, hsjacksonbook@gmail.com. And we meet virtually. Right now, our first meeting is on October 25th. I don't know if this segment will air before then. I don't think it will, or probably will air after the first meeting. But if you are interested in participating in the women's group, know that you can definitely email me and I will get back in touch with you, because it's all about creating community for women to come together. And that's one of the reasons my change your view is not just about women. I do have men on as well. But the point is creating a community for us to be able to come together, no matter our sexes and gender, but to just be able to come together so that we can lift each other up and we could not think that we're all alone. So we
and I would add too that my group, we do activities, and our activities incorporate our husbands. And we did one activity where we had to get a puzzle, and God gives me these activities. And when he gave me this one, I was like, Lord, they're going to think I am so crazy. But he gave me an activity to do a puzzle, and everybody was to just go out and to buy a puzzle, and to it didn't matter what kind of puzzle it was. It could be a puzzle with 10 pieces, 100 pieces, 1,000 pieces, whatever was placed on your heart. And we were supposed to work on that puzzle with our husbands. And you just don't know how people came back and were talking about the communication and how their husband, they discovered that their husband liked puzzles, and just it gave them a space to talk and to do something and do activity. And those are some of the things that we do. So we do an activity with our husbands so that we can stay connected.
That's so wonderful. And I thank you. And our time together has flown past because you have
so man.
And so what I want to ask you, and I will have you back on for a future segment, because I know the ladies are chomping to know, well, how does this turn out with this divorce? Right. Because we see that the end is really not the end. God just told her to put forth that one sacrifice. Yeah. But he's saying that he will provide, so that there is another way. So what is the final thought that you want to leave with a woman that maybe is going through like what you went through? How can they see differently or get to the other side?
Couple things I want to tell someone to, first, that is your choice. It's your choice. And to hang on that is your choice. Whatever you choose is your choice. Don't let anyone make you feel bad, terrible, or that you're less than if you choose one way or another. It's your choice. And number two, rejoice in hope and be patient to tribulation. And that's in Romans 12:12. You can easily remember that. Romans 12:12 is rejoice in hope and patience to tribulation. So understand that you just rejoice. Choose joy. It's your choice.
All right. Well, thank you, DonTasia. I appreciate you being on here with me. And I know that I will have you back. You have been a wealth of knowledge.
Thank you. And it was a great opportunity to be with you. Like I say, we connected, and you make me feel welcome all the time. I've never felt judged, even when we had our, intimate discussions. I never felt, that I had to be somebody different. Like you say, put on a mask. So you play a part in making people feel comfortable. So I appreciate that. And thank you for this opportunity.
Well, thank you. So stay tuned, everyone, for another segment after this one, because we'll have more of Change Your View.
Yeah.
Have a good rest of your
Bye, everyone.
This concludes this episode of Change Your View. Let this conversation help you navigate life's challenges, emerging from that seemingly endless pause that you are experiencing. Regain command of your own path and resist being boxed in. Visit hsjackson.com for more inspiring and eye-opening discussions. Stop walking in the shadows of other individuals. No longer allow inferior perspectives to brainwash you. Do not be forgotten. You have the authority and power over you. Make the most of your abilities. Thank you for listening. Until next time.